David Benedict got his guy. Jason Candle, the new UConn football head coach. This is Locked On UConn.
You are Locked On UConn, your daily podcast on the UConn Huskies. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Happy Monday and welcome in to another episode of Locked On UConn. I am your host, Matt Shonvisky, from the only daily UConn sports podcast, Locked On UConn, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, the number one sports podcast network in the world. Thank you for making this your first listen each and every single day. On today's show, Sue Bird was back at Gampel as her number 10 went up into the rafters. And then Dan Hurley has his team playing great defense once again as the Huskies prep for Florida Tuesday night at Madison Square Garden. And before we get to the hire, Jason Candle, today's episode is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. So Jason Candle is the new head coach of UConn football. By all accounts, Candle was at the very top of David Benedict's list as he began his search, carried out his search, and ended his search. The top target of Benedict, and I see why. What is UConn getting with the hire of Jason Candle? Well, I look at his resume. I see he began his career at Mount Union. Who else began at Mount Union? Who else did he learn with at Mount Union? Nick Sirianni of the Philadelphia Eagles. Matt Campbell, formerly of Iowa State, now the head coach at Penn State. He built his coaching career around those type of guys. And then what else do I look on his resume? I see he began at Toledo way back in 2009 as a receivers coach. 2009. He's been there 16 years. To me, that indicates a few things. That right there means loyalty. That's something a program of UConn's stature, an independent, needs to be successful. They need consistency. They need loyalty. They need somebody that's going to be here both for the short term and for the long term. For the program, the players, the school, the university, the administration, to know they're not coming here to go somewhere else. Jason Candle, to me, 16 years at Toledo, indicates to me he won't be doing that. This is not a stepping stone job. He sees something in this UConn football program that, hey, I can be there long term. And what that is remains to be seen. But I know Candle's coming here, and he's not looking to go somewhere else. Just looking at his resume, not having spoken to him. But the things that I hear, great person, looks out for those around him, looks out for his staff, looks out for his players first and foremost above anything else. And that is because of his experience that he had at Mount Union and everything that that program stood for under their legendary head coach. So that's what UConn's getting. Loyalty. What else are they getting? Winner. He's been head coach since 2015. He was named. His first full season was 16 after Matt Campbell took the job at Iowa State. 0 losing seasons. 0. So we talked about loyalty. Let's talk about winning. And what is he walking into? Jim Mora left, and he left in a way that I know fans are not happy with. But Jim Mora saved this football program. Jim Mora took what was arguably, at times, the worst football program in America and won 9 games in back-to-back seasons for the first time in UConn FBS football history. So appreciation to Jim Mora, despite how he left, despite where he went to, despite signing day. Obviously, there's going to be existing players that are going to be looking to go with Jim Mora due to the relationships that were formed and the bonds that were built and the battles they went through. It only makes sense. I'm not going to blame Jim Mora for that. What did he do to set this program up for success? Well, 3 bowl games in 4 years, back-to-back 9-win seasons, a chance for a 10th as UConn is playing in the Fenway Bowl for the second straight year, this time against Army, looking for their first ever 10-win season. Thank you, Jim Mora. So as you bring in another coach that has 10 years of 0 losing seasons, he's coming into a program that the framework's here. The foundation is here. The culture is here. Can Candle continue to build off of that? Because I don't believe, and I know there's a large segment of the UConn fan base also doesn't believe, that UConn has reached their pinnacle. We look at the other sports at this athletic department and know what we're capable of across the board in every sport that this school plays. Basketball programs speak for themselves. So, has UConn peaked? My answer is no. And I think bringing a head coach like Jason Candle to the table with his experience, his ability to win and win consistently, to build on top of what's already here, I think is a very, very good hire by David Benedict. Now, what's the rest of his staff going to look like? By all accounts, UConn is increasing the money that's available for the staff and increasing and investing even more in NIL, in football, to showcase themselves. What does that mean? We'll find out tomorrow. Jason Candle will be introduced at the Rent on Monday. And we already know his salary is doubling from what he made at Toledo, which was $1.15 million in 2025. It's more than doubling in year 1 of his 6-year deal. What the overall contract looks like, we'll find out. But the investment by the school, by the athletic department, by the state into this new staff is going to lead to a lot of positive things, in my opinion. What else are they getting? What else are we getting in Jason Candle? You're getting a developer of talent and somebody that has an elite, by all accounts, eye for talent. Toledo has just wrapped up their 3rd consecutive number 1 recruiting class in the MAC. Number 70 overall in the nation, Toledo. Sitting in Ohio, obviously a hotbed of high school football. But Candle is able to attract them and get them to commit and attend Toledo. And what does he do once they get there? Every single year, he's put a player in the NFL, an NFL draft pick. Similar to what's been happening here at UConn. So I feel like he's stepping into a situation where, hey, UConn's consistently developed players into professionals. You have another coach, Jason Candle, who is an elite evaluator of talent and develops players for the professional ranks. I think he's entering into a perfect situation. It's not a high-pressure job. We know that. A lot of the focus here is on the basketball programs. That's a good thing, especially for a new coach coming in for football, that they can take the time and have the ability to develop their program and put their stamp on UConn. So as Candle gets introduced, we obviously look forward to getting to know him. What's his philosophy? What's his mindset? What's the culture he wants to bring here? But as we look at this hire, you see stability. I see loyalty. I see a winner. I see a player developer, and I see a recruiter, somebody that can eye talent. And that's something you need at this institution. So to me, by all accounts, I think David Benedict checked all the boxes here. So we'll see Jason Candle at the Rent on Monday. And as we look ahead to the next steps, it's going to be coaching staff. It's going to be recruiting. It's going to be filling out this roster. Who stays, who goes, both on the staff side and on the player side. So Jason Candle, welcome to UConn. We look forward to getting to know you and hopefully maybe at some point a friend of the program. The World Cup is coming back to North America for the first time since 1994. And with 48 teams for the first time ever, it's going to be massive. But let's be honest, getting tickets is usually the hardest part. That's why the Gametime app is clutch, finally giving fans a real advantage when it comes to snagging seats. With Gametime, you can track price drops in real time, get alerts when great seats open, and buy tickets the moment they hit the app. It puts the power back in your hands and makes going to the World Cup realistic instead of impossible. You pull up the app, and the layout makes it so simple to scroll through matchups and compare seat views, pick a game, tap a section, and have your seats locked in within minutes. No confusion, no hunting for fine print. The seat view feature is a game changer. You literally see what the pitch looks like from your exact seat before you buy. Take the guesswork out of buying World Cup tickets in every match, concert, or event with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, download the app, make an account, and use LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Gametime. On Sunday, UConn women's basketball rolled once again. Final score 102-35, improving to 9-0 on the year. Their second win in the Big East here in 2025. Sarah Strong, 20 points. AZ Fudd put in 16. And listen, this team is so efficient. 63% from the field, 67% from three. But guess what? There is an area of improvement. They went 58% from the free throw line. 14 of 24 from the free throw line. Areas of improvement. I know Gino is going to be looking at that box score and say, listen, yes, we won by 67 points. What can we improve? That's number one. But today wasn't about a 67-point win. Today was really about bringing back a UConn legend and really fortifying her place in the rafters at Gampel. She's already cemented her legacy at UConn. A jersey retirement is not going to put her in an upper echelon because Sue Bird is already there. So as UConn raised number 10 up to the rafters, it's just a reminder of, listen, it's 2025. Gino's been here for 40 plus years. How unique is this situation? How unique is this program that Gino has built? How unique is it that all of these legends that have come through have been able to produce for UConn and build a program to where they are a perennial powerhouse? Because this women's basketball team, when Gino got here, was nowhere close to where it is today. Same with the men's basketball program when Jim Calhoun arrives. Those two programs, maybe they weren't at the same level, but you could compare them to, hey, nobody believes in UConn football. But look at what Gino did over 40 years. And Sue Bird was a huge part of that. Gino was talking about looking back at the recruiting class that Sue Bird came in on. He had 3 Olympians in that class. So just the unique ability to identify talent, especially back then, when UConn was still getting those runs going. I know 95 was, 30 years ago. I'm sure UConn, I actually don't know this, but I'm sure UConn's going to be bringing back for the 30th anniversary the first ever championship team. And who was on there? The first player to get their number retired, Rebecca Lobo, number 50. And then there came Swin Cash, number 32. And now up there is number 10, Sue Bird, a player that lost 4 games her entire UConn career. 4 games over a 4-year period, averaging 1 loss per year. 2 national championships, 3 player of the years, went on to a stellar professional career in the WNBA. And just really a reflection of what UConn and this women's basketball program is all about. How do you build a winner? It's with people and players like Sue Bird. And the ability to get her back to Gampel, to honor that legacy, to honor everything that was put in to get this program to where it was and where it continues to be. Just that legacy spanning all those decades is just, it's mind-blowing. And it's something that I really hope this fan base is not taking for granted. Because 102-35 doesn't happen every day. All of these national championships don't happen overnight. All of these players don't come in just because. It's everybody. It's a collective. It's the program that Gino built. But it's not just Gino. Gino's the architect. But there's a whole group of people that put this all together between his staff, Chris Daly, obviously, and all the players. And Sue Bird is one of those. So the honor today at Gampel was absolutely deserved. Her number 10 retired. No player ever to wear again. And it's just something that this program and this fan base, I hope, cherishes. And there's been many others that will follow. I think Maya Moore will be retired later this year. And there will be more. So as we look back on Sue Bird's legacy and appreciate everything that she poured into this program and everything she's done for UConn post-graduation, I think it's a thank you to her, her effort, her performance, and her legacy. And she's just one of many. The holidays come with 2 big goals: feeding people well and finding gifts they'll actually love. And when you want both handled in one move, Omaha Steaks is the way to go. From hosting to gifting, they deliver the world's best steak experience right to your door. Because during their Sizzle All the Way sale, you can stock up and save in a huge way. 50% off site-wide at omahasteaks.com. And it gets even better. Locked On College listeners get an extra $35 off with code COLLEGE at checkout. I've sent Omaha Steaks as gifts before, and the reaction is always the same. This is the best gift ever. I love how easy it is to gift. Shows up frozen, packed beautifully, ready to cook. Steaks are perfectly aged and insanely tender. It's restaurant level at home. Save big on gourmet gifts and more. Holiday favorites with Omaha Steaks. Visit omahasteaks.com for 50% off site-wide during their Sizzle All the Way sale. And for an extra $35 off, use promo code COLLEGE at checkout. Terms apply. See site for details. That's omahasteaks.com, code COLLEGE. We all know the saying, Defense wins championships. Listen, looking back on last year's men's basketball season, I think even Dan Hurley would agree, defense wasn't where it needed to be. So as we entered into this season, we know the roster is going to be good. I think your deep team. You're going to have players that can come in, both young and old. They're going to be able to contribute and really put a stamp on this season. But what I was really looking forward to as this season kicked off was, how is UConn going to perform defensively? And the numbers are pretty good. I think you're 6th in the nation in points per game. Field goal percentage is top 20 as well, defensively. So looking ahead to Tuesday's matchup with Florida, back at the Garden, sort of a revenge game, in my opinion. Listen, UConn only lost by 2 last year in the tournament to the eventual national champion. 2 points. The closest tournament game Florida had on their way to the national title. 2 points separated UConn from potentially making yet another run for a three-peat. But the thing that was not there a season ago, that had been there in years prior, was defense. And UConn's coming through at the start of this season. Without, for the most part, Terrace Reed. In a situation where they have a very tough schedule to start the year. It's not like they've gone out and put cupcakes top to bottom. They've challenged themselves. And their challenge, they are meeting that challenge. And listen, the Garden's going to be rocking on Tuesday night. We talked about Coach Candle, Jason Candle on the football side. His first introduction to the UConn fan base is going to be Store South. It's going to be electric. I know the fans are going to be, every single one of you that are going to be there. You're going to be thinking back to last March, 77-75, 2 points away. A game that could have been won. And UConn's turned the page. Dan Hurley's done such a great job getting this roster to a place that top to bottom gives him everything he needs to be successful this season. To put them back in contention for a legit championship run. Yes, they have the offensive players. Yes, Braylon Mullins has come onto the scene and burst onto the scene. In that performance at Allen Fieldhouse at Kansas, 17 points off the bench. Speaks for itself. They continue to improve on Friday night. Now another test at the Garden. How are they going to hold up? We know the crowd's going to bring it. This team's already performed well at MSG. They are the favorites on Tuesday night. Big thing for me. 60 points per game allowed. 60. They've scored 80 a game, averaging a 20-point win. 4 straight wins. So as UConn looks to continue to build off of their early season start and looks to get healthy, that's the thing. We really haven't seen this team healthy all season. Finally got Mullins back. This is going to be his, 4th game? His first game, got his feet wet at MSG. Second game on the road at Kansas. Now he's entering into some consistency, some rapport with his teammates. And then, even though Terrace Reed has been out, the experience that Eric Riba's gotten is going to prove tremendously fruitful, especially as you start to enter into conference play. because his experience hasn't been against small teams. He's getting hands-on experience against the likes of Arizona, Illinois, Kansas to get his feet wet in top competition. And he's come through defensively for me as well. He's proven to me that he can really be a true contributor on this team this season. And should something happen with foul trouble down the line after Terrace Reed gets healthy, Rob is there. And starts on the defensive side of the floor. That's what's going to put this team over the top. There's going to be more that we talk about with this team going forward. We'll talk about the arrival of Demery, what he's brought to the table. All positive in my mind. He reminds me of some former players that have been here. And then Caravan. You're Mr. Consistency. It's just a very deep team who I know is looking forward to getting back on that court at MSG against Florida after what transpired last year. And Florida's coming off a close game at Cameron Indoor. 1-point loss to Duke, 67-66. They've got 3 losses on the season. We are going to preview this game tomorrow. But just it is a big one at MSG, so I want to talk a little about Florida right off the bat. They lost to a similar opponent as UConn, Arizona, to start the season. Lost by 4 to TCU, lost by 1 to Duke. Took care of business against Providence, surprise, surprise. Beat Miami and Florida State. So it's not like they've had a cupcake schedule either. So they're 5-3, but they've had a pretty good schedule. So I know Tuesday night's going to be rocking. I'm once again going to be focused on defense. I know Dan Hurley's going to be doing the same. It's really your last real test out of conference, right? Other than Texas. It's a pretty big week. You've got Florida Tuesday night at MSG, Texas on Friday night at XL. People's Bank, excuse me. And then it's Big East time. So really, out of conference is being taken care of this week, and then it's Big East from here on out. And that's when your defense is going to really need to step up and continue the progress that's made. There's some other things we'll get to later this week in terms of what else I want to see as this team continues through this year. But listen, I wanted to highlight defense. First time I'm talking to you guys. It's just been a significant improvement and is putting this program and this team in a position to be competitive later on this year. So I know this group is looking forward to getting back on the court against Florida, as is this fan base. And I know it's going to be a big one. So with that, thank you all for tuning in to our relaunch of Locked On UConn. Hit the like and subscribe button so I get to keep my job. For a second listen, check out Locked On Sports Today, hosted by Peter Bukowski, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.